Have you ever heard of the life-changing paradigm that George Orwell spoke of? Freedom is the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. These words carry a powerful message about the nature of truth, the challenges of free speech, and the courage it takes to stand by one's convictions. In a world where opinions are often shaped by popular narratives, where dissent is sometimes met with hostility, and where uncomfortable truths can be brushed aside, Orwell's statement serves as both a warning and an encouragement. It challenges us to question whether we truly embrace freedom or merely tolerate opinions that align with our own. What does it truly mean to have the freedom to tell people what they do not want to hear? It means that real freedom isn't just about saying what is popular, acceptable, or easy. It's about being able to express the truth, even when it is inconvenient, unpopular, or even offensive to some. This kind of freedom is the foundation of any healthy democracy, open society, and intellectual progress. Without it, we are left with only partial truths, suppressed thoughts, and a culture of fear that discourages critical thinking. The ability to challenge widely accepted beliefs, even when uncomfortable, is what allows societies to evolve and grow. History has shown us that some of the most significant societal changes came from people who were willing to speak the truth, even when others did not want to hear it. Think of Galileo, who dared to challenge the Church's belief that the Earth was the center of the universe. His discoveries were met with resistance, not because they were false, but because they were uncomfortable. Yet, without individuals like him, science and knowledge would have remained stagnant. The courage to challenge established norms, despite facing persecution, is what has propelled humanity forward throughout history. The same can be said for figures like Martin Luther King Jr., who spoke about racial injustice in a time when many were unwilling to confront the realities of segregation and discrimination. His words were met with resistance, hatred, and even violence. But history now recognizes the truth in his message, and the world is better because he had the courage to say what others did not want to hear. The sacrifices of truth-tellers like him remind us that real change often comes at a cost, but it is a necessary price to pay for progress. Even in literature, Orwell himself demonstrated the importance of uncomfortable truths through his novels. Books like 1984 and Animal Farm exposed the dangers of totalitarianism, government manipulation, and censorship. At the time, his ideas were controversial. Many dismissed them as exaggerations or paranoia. Yet today, his warnings remain more relevant than ever, reminding us that the suppression of truth is often the first step toward oppression. The themes in his works continue to resonate because they reflect patterns of control and deceit that persist in various forms around the world. But what about in everyday life? How does Orwell's quote apply to us as individuals? The reality is, we all encounter moments where speaking the truth is difficult. Maybe it's telling a friend or loved one something they need to hear but don't want to accept. Maybe it's voicing an unpopular opinion in a workplace or classroom. Maybe it's standing up against injustice when staying silent would be easier. These moments test our character. Do we choose comfort, or do we choose courage? The small, everyday decisions we make to stand by the truth shape not only our personal integrity but also the society we live in. One of the greatest barriers to speaking the truth is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of being misunderstood. It's natural to want to be liked, to fit in, to avoid conflict. But if we prioritize comfort over truth, we contribute to a culture of silence, where important issues are ignored, and real progress is never made. If no one speaks out, falsehoods can become accepted as reality, and those in power can manipulate narratives without challenge. Speaking up may be difficult, but it is often the only way to break the cycle of misinformation and bring real issues to light. This is why free speech is so essential. It is not just about saying what we want, it is about allowing difficult conversations to happen. It is about giving people the right to express different perspectives, even if those perspectives make us uncomfortable. After all, progress is not made through silence. It is made through debate, questioning, and, sometimes, even disagreement. Suppressing speech does not eliminate bad ideas. It only drives them underground, where they fester without opposition. The best way to challenge falsehood is with truth, and the only way to find truth is through open discourse. When we deny people the right to voice their opinions, we not only rob them of their freedom but also deprive ourselves of the opportunity to learn, grow, and refine our own beliefs. But let's be clear, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. Speaking the truth can come with risks. It can cost friendships, opportunities, and even safety. But if no one is willing to take that risk, then lies and ignorance prevail. This is why those who dare to speak the truth are often seen as troublemakers at first. Yet, history has a way of vindicating those who stand by their principles. Consider whistleblowers, people who expose corruption, deception, or injustice within governments and corporations. Figures like Edward Snowden and Julian Assange revealed uncomfortable truths about surveillance and government secrecy. Their actions sparked global debates about privacy, ethics, and accountability. Whether one agrees with their methods or not, their stories illustrate the power of truth and the lengths to which some institutions will go to suppress it. Even outside of politics, truth-telling is vital. Think about the #MeToo movement. For years, victims of harassment and abuse were afraid to speak out, fearing they wouldn't be believed or that they would face retaliation. But as more and more voices came forward, the truth became undeniable. The world had to listen. This is the power of telling people what they do not want to hear. It forces society to confront uncomfortable realities and, ultimately, to change for the better. However, there is another side to this conversation. Some people misuse the idea of speaking the truth as an excuse to be deliberately hurtful or offensive. Telling the truth is not about cruelty. It is about integrity. It is not about proving a point at the expense of others. It is about shedding light on what needs to be seen. The challenge is to balance honesty with wisdom, to know when and how to speak in a way that inspires understanding rather than division. So how do we apply Orwell's message in our daily lives? First, we must be willing to listen to truths that make us uncomfortable. It is easy to embrace the truth when it aligns with our beliefs, but real growth happens when we challenge our assumptions. We must resist the urge to dismiss opposing viewpoints outright and instead engage in thoughtful discussion. This requires patience, humility, and the ability to separate our emotions from the pursuit of truth. Second, we must be willing to speak up, even when it's difficult. Whether it's correcting misinformation, standing up for someone being mistreated, or addressing an issue that others ignore, our voice matters. Change does not happen without those who are willing to say what others would rather not hear. Every great movement in history began with individuals who dared to speak despite the risks, proving that courage in speech can be a powerful catalyst for transformation. And third, we must protect the right for others to speak, even when we disagree with them. A world where only one perspective is allowed is a world that suppresses thought. The moment we silence others, we open the door to being silenced ourselves. True freedom means allowing all voices to be heard, even when we find them challenging. By defending free speech, we create a society where ideas can be debated openly, leading to better understanding and progress for everyone. Freedom is not just about comfort, it is about responsibility. It is about making sure that truth is not buried beneath convenience or fear. It is about recognizing that sometimes, the most important thing we can do is to tell people what they do not want to hear. So the next time you find yourself hesitating to speak the truth because it might be unpopular, remember Orwell's words. Remember that every great change in history began with someone who refused to stay silent. Remember that real freedom is not just the right to agree, but the right to challenge, to question, and to push for a better world. If this message speaks to you, comment "Truth must be spoken" in the comments to help share this wisdom and reach more people. Or share a time when you spoke the truth, even when it was difficult. Your story might inspire someone else to find the courage to do the same.